are you a disorganized person? Diana, you and I have spoken about this, about people being disorganized. A lot of people say it, and it's true, isn't it?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of disorganized people out there.
And it can be overwhelming because people know that they're disorganized. They say that they're disorganized, and then they prove it. And so it's really overwhelming when somebody comes in and says, we're going to build some systems here. We're going to get you going. We're going to get you disciplined. And people think, oh no, that's too much control. And I'm not like that. I'm not an organized person. I don't like to be so rigid.
Yeah, that can be hard when you're not used to working with a lot of systems, to have someone come in and throw a whole lot of systems on you at once.
It is. So one of the things that I like to do is focus a slightly different way. Let's just take an example of a call. Okay, so Diana, you and I are having this call. In the lead up to this call, we arranged a time. Now, maybe we just did it verbally. Maybe we did it through text, through direct message over LinkedIn. But then, supposing you relied on me to keep track of when that was. When did we say that was again? That was Tuesday my time. That was Monday your time. Or what time was it? That's not how we did it, is it?
No, that's not how we did it at all. Actually, I figured out what would be the best time for me, and then you sent me an invite from your calendar, which allowed me to work it in with you, and that actually I was able to then link that to my calendar so that I could set up reminders.
So we won't go into the technicalities of how we did that just yet. I really want to focus at the high level on why that was a good thing to do, and not rely on you to be organized and on me to be organized and both of us to agree at a time and just put it, hopefully we'll remember the time. Why is it a smart thing to do it where I actually sent the invitation and made you show up in my calendar and me show up in yours at the same time?
Well, it's a smart thing to do because we all have busy lives. We have a lot going on in our heads.
Yeah.
Especially if you're running a business or you're working for a very busy company, you're inundated all day long with, you need to do this. What do you need to do at the house? You know, what appointments you have to keep. If you have kids, if you have pets, if you have a grocery list, all that stuff is swirling around in our mind, and it takes up so much room. So if you don't take that one thing and, write a reminder right away, then you're very likely to forget it. And that's not always easy to do, especially when you're out in public, like making a doctor appointment. You need a way to put that in immediately because you don't have a Post-it necessarily right where you are when you need it.
So now here's another thing that I noticed, that because you and I have spoken before, and I noticed that you did this when we got our meeting arranged. Well, first of all, you translated it. You're in a very different time zone to me. I'm down here in Australia, and it's the future here. And you translated that for me. That was a great thing. That made it so much easier for me. But of course, we've got scheduling apps that do that anyway. But there were some other things that you did in when I sent that appointment that really made it a whole lot less work for us when we actually show up for the appointment. What were some of the things that you'd recommend?
Well, some of the things that I recommend is, number one, after I translated it to the correct time, I messaged you the time that would be best to let you know. And then once you sent me the invite, I immediately I added it to my own calendar. I went in and I wrote down any notes. I also set a reminder because I know me. If I'm standing in front of the refrigerator for more than a couple minutes, I forget why I'm there. So I had it send me an email the day before our meeting so that I would remember, oh yeah, I'm meeting with Anthony tomorrow. And then I had it send me a notification on my devices an hour before. That gave me time to take my dogs out, get settled down, grab a glass of water, open up my computer, make sure it was all charged, plugged in. I checked my microphone and made sure everything was clear and ready to go, and even went over the notes before this call so that everything would be clear and crisp.
So all of that is just a real sign of great professionalism. And what it does is it means that you're not flustered. You're not, I didn't have to send you a reminder 10 minutes after the call saying, are you showing up? Did I get the right time? And one thing that we're speaking over Zoom at the moment, which is a video chat, we're recording the audio using that. And so one thing that we both had in our calendar was, here is where the link is, to make it really easy for you. And you did a whole lot of preparation. Well, I shouldn't say a whole lot of preparation, but having the power charged, having your microphone ready, having the glass of water there, all of those things that ahead of time are just going to make it run so much more smoothly when we actually show up.
Right. I always try to be, that's why I give myself that whole hour buffer. That hour is, okay, you have 1 hour to get your stuff in order. And the reason I have the day before reminder is, okay, make sure you don't schedule anything else close to that. Make sure, like I had dinner, we're in a different time zone. So I had dinner before this meeting. So I had to make sure I got to dinner on time so that I could make it to this meeting on time. I had to make sure and bump up everything else on my calendar.
So here's a few tips, even before we build any systems or, get people to follow our rigid discipline. Here's a few tips that, just to summarize what you've said, is that there is some preparation that doesn't even involve technology, which are things like, well, powering up, having your laptop powered up. I suppose that involves technology, but you don't have to get new software in place to do that. Having those reminders, yes, that's a software thing, and all calendar apps have those these days. And getting the glass of water, having your microphone ready, all of those sort of things, so that, and that's a way of not only showing your own professionalism, it's a way of respecting the time of the person that you are meeting and respecting your own time as well. So this is really good.
I agree with that 100%. If I go through the trouble to get my computer up, get my dogs walked, get myself set down and completely briefed and ready for a meeting, and then I have somebody that calls me up 10 minutes late from their car and they're like, I can talk to you, but I'm talking to you on the way to pick up my kid from soccer practice. That's disrespecting not only my time, that's disrespecting me, because I made a point to prepare for this meeting because I respect you and I don't want to waste your time.
So, I mean, look, we know that things happen, of course, with people. And yeah, I just had a meeting with somebody who's, who had to go to ER. I mean, had to go to emergency for a family member. Well, okay, those things happen. But ordinarily, I mean, the soccer training is probably something that you can predict ahead of time.
Exactly. I mean, if it's in a true emergency, that's fine. But
Sure.
If you look at yourself and your emergencies keep coming up so much, I mean, go and inwardly reflect on yourself. If you see that you are being late to calls, you are being unorganized, and you are having to reschedule things all the time, then the other person is not the problem. You are the problem, and you need to think about how you can structure it so that you can make it to these things. And even at a base level, just use a Google Calendar.
So, there was an expression that you used, and we'll speak about the Google Calendar in a moment, but there was an expression that you used before. You said, I've got so much going on in my mind. And I think that's true pretty much for all of us. And so by being able to say, I'm actually going to respect my calendar, I'm actually going to show up on somebody else's calendar, then that means that just takes one mental burden off you. It just takes it off your inbox in your mind, if you like. Yeah.
Right. It's like a brain dump, because once it's in my calendar, I don't have to worry about it again. until my calendar reminds me that I need to worry about it.
So otherwise your day is just driven by interruptions, right? And then last minute things, and then I didn't get this done on time, and then somebody's called me, like, and you just feel rushed, you feel pressured. It's really very unpleasant. There were a couple of other things that you mentioned when we were speaking before, which one of them was really interesting. Was you said that during the call. So let's say that we're having a call, and it may be our first ever call, and then maybe I want you to become my client, or you want me to become your client, or we're going to collaborate in some way. During that call, and it may not be actually a sales call, but during that call, there's a very good chance that some, how shall we say, some promises are going to be made. Small things like, Diana, I know exactly who could use your help, or I know exactly who to introduce you to, because he's in front of an audience of people who are self-proclaimed disorganized people and they so need your assistance. So I'm going to introduce you. Or I will send you an article, or I'll send you a podcast. There's a little 2-minute snippet that I think you would find really helpful. Or I'm going to send you, you've never used Google Calendar before, Anthony. I'm going to send you a wonderful 5-minute YouTube video on just the beginnings of getting started with a calendar, okay, or with Google Calendar. So we make a number of promises, if you like, during the call. What do you do so that those don't slip through the cracks?
Well, if it's possible, I record the call so that I can review it afterwards.
Okay.
If I haven't got a copy of the call, I immediately open up either Notepad or even possibly open my email system, because I can go ahead and start, at least putting notes in that email of what I want to send and save it as a draft. And then I can go back in later when I have time and find those videos and send them off to you and rewrite it properly. But at least I've opened the email, I've put your name in it, I've gone ahead and typed up what I want to send you, and I've went ahead and saved it. So it's right there in my email box ready for me to go and complete.
So this is not just around time management and, being organized in your day. It's around honoring your commitments, honoring your promises, right?
Right, and it's around basically doing what you can immediately. If you go off and try to do other things, then you're going to forget it. You're going to lose it. And I've learned this. I started networking a lot more local. And so I built a whole networking board in Trello. And that Trello board, I'll get a business card from people. When I come home from that networking event, I will enter those business cards into Trello cards. And I'll put due dates on them when I want to get back with them, maybe what we talked about. I'll have their business information, but if I remember little snippets like, oh, they have a dog, oh, they work over at this place, oh, they like chocolate ice cream. I write those little things down. So when I get back to them, I can just pull up their file in Trello and say, oh, how is your kid Jane? Are they feeling better? That actually helps.
It's a great personal touch. Can you just explain what Trello is for those who haven't heard of it?
Trello is a workflow management system. I use it in many different ways. Primarily as a video editor, I use it to create workflows. But Trello, in that case, I'm using it more as to keep track of my contacts. You could actually do that in Google Contacts too, or other places. I just find Trello easier for me because it's a very visual system, and you can open up the cards and you can write whatever you want in it and keep your own notes. And I have lists of people in certain orders that I could go through and say, these people I want to keep in touch with once a month, these people once a quarter, and these people at least twice a year. And I kind of prioritize them, put due dates on them, which Trello lets me do. And if it gets close to a due date, it will bing me and say, bing, 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 you need to get in touch with this person.
I love it. So I'm really, I'm curious. I can hear some people who are listening to this audio now, this podcast. It's not a regular podcast, but I can hear some people listening to it, and they're saying to themselves, they're protesting. They're saying, Diana, that's fine for you, but I'm not an organized person, and I don't want to be so rigid in my day, and I don't want to learn all these new tools. What would you say to them?
I would say start simple.
Mm,
Start with a calendar. If you don't want to do a digital one, if you want to get the old planner, if you're like a planner person, you want to put in your pages and put in your stickers, that's fine. As long as you're checking your planner regularly to keep up with where you're supposed to be. If you want to do it digitally, the first and the easiest thing to do is just a Google Calendar, because a Google Calendar will work across all your devices and it will sync across all your devices. So no matter where you are, you can pull your phone out, enter the information in your Google Calendar, hit save, and it is now on every device you have.
oh wow! So so here's the thing: is you know how people say people buy from those who they know and they like and they trust, right?
Right.
Well, you can't put on your website, hey, I am the trusted. Like me, I'm a business coach, right? I can't put on my calendar, I'm a trusted business coach. Most trusted in it. Like the very fact that I would say that would it would make people suspicious, right? I need to
Actually,
demonstrate.
I think if you did that, everybody would go in there and go, okay, I'm going to contact him just because I want to see what that is. That's almost like a reverse psychology thing.
Yeah, can we really trust him? But trust is not, when we speak about trust, we often think of it as, look, you're honest. Okay. But
Right.
but there are other signals of trust as well. And so this is, I suppose, if you like, getting people started in terms of getting themselves organized. Because I'm a bit of a convert to the whole organizational system and getting things done and so on. And in a sense, I'm a bit of a beginner, but in another sense, I can think, well, look, I really, really need to know how long this is going to take and what I'm actually committing to. And and so one thing that I would really like to highlight here is that if you continue that conversation with yourself, I'm not an organized person. I'm somebody who, I don't want to have my day driven by rigidity and so on. You are letting yourself down, you're letting others down, and you are not building trust with them because you're letting them down with even really basic commitments that you've made to them, to show up on time, to send them that link that you promised you'd send them, to send them that invitation, to book that second meeting, whatever. And so that's one of the trust builders, I think, which is that you follow through, you keep your promises.
Oh, yeah, especially in the early touch points when you're first meeting somebody and you
Mm,
schedule a call. If the first phone call you are late, you can pretty much be assured that person is not going to want to work with you.
mm.
That's very important to be not only consistent online, but be consistent in respecting appointments, respecting what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to send somebody something, get it out to them pretty quick.
Wow. So this is really good. So even if you're not a productivity ninja like Diana here, um, you can make an easy start. And Diana, if somebody approached you or me, do you think like they'd feel too intimidated to approach us to say, look, how do we start to get some processes into our system? Do you think we'd sort of come crashing down on them?
Um, I would hope that I wouldn't come crashing down on them. I am a bit of a tech geek and I do love my toys and I do love my systems,
Mm,
but I understand that there are a lot of people, especially my age, that, kind of up above the half century mark or whatever it is. There are several people my age that are just not tech savvy. I
mm.
see it all the time when I go out to my Toastmasters, when I go out to my networking events. They cannot figure out how to change the banner on their Facebook.
Right.
So I will quickly make up a screen share video tutorial and send it over to them and say, here, this is how you can change that. And I just send it to them in an email. I used
Wow.
Zoom and screen share it and say, here you go. I hope that helps you figure out how to change your Facebook header.
Oh, that's great. So this is really, really valuable valuable advice, and I think people can understand that we're not going to come crashing down if they need to work with you, or if they need to work with me to find a better way of doing things. Then yeah, it's really, really worth it, because you can well, you can just be a little bit more organized and stuff. So you don't have to wander around apologizing all of the time, or feeling like you're always playing catch up.
Right. And if people can't understand the tech, that's why I have an entire YouTube channel of tutorials, tech tutorials, is because there are a lot of people that don't understand some of it, even how to add a manager on their video channel, or
Right.
how to do something. I will make that tech tutorial and I'll just send it off to them in a video that they can keep, that they can refer back to, that they can learn at their own pace and implement that.
So
It's so simple.
So you've got the three options there. One is the do it yourself. Here's the just watch Diana's video and go and do it. The second one is done with you. Let's do this together.
Right,
So
which is one of the things I've been doing with the Chamber of Commerce. They were having some problems with their systems and their website. So I've been over there helping them reorganize a hijacked website, which has been a lot of fun.
yeah. And then the third one, of course, is done for you, which is
Right, done for you.
Diana or Anthony. Look, I have got a whole team. I've been working with people lately who are looking to. They've got a great process. They've got a great. Their workflow is okay, but once they actually start to bring in new members of the team, like it's still somebody in somebody's head. And I said, we've got to get it out of your head, and we've got to get it into a place where we can basically fire you. You're the boss. We want you to be thinking more around strategy and less around putting out fires, right? And so, building some sort of workflow, some sort of process to really, really make that very, just very easy to pass on. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that's one of the things I like about Trello is it is a workflow management, just like Asana, Teamwork, and Basecamp. Is I actually have automation in my house, and if I have a thought suddenly for a video I want to do, I can shout at my automation, which I won't do right now because it'll go off.
Yes.
But I can actually shout it. I can say the word Trello and then say the idea, and it will show up in my Trello board when I open it later when I get on my computer.
Oh.
So I actually have it that geeked out at my house, but that's my level of geek.
I just love that. Okay, and now getting in touch with either of us, Diana, you're a LinkedIn sort of a person, I believe.
I am living on LinkedIn and loving it.
Okay, so connect with Diana or me on LinkedIn, and yeah, I love that Trello automation shouting it out. That's you must have a very interesting
handy. It's very handy, definitely. You get that moment of inspiration in the shower or something, stick your head out the shower curtain and you scream at your automation thing and say, Trello, make a video about how to subtitle, short videos, something like that. And it puts it in my calendar. And later on, when I get over there to work, I open up my Trello board and I see all these ideas and I'm like, okay, which video am I going to work on?
Amazing. Thank you so much, Diana. We'll include the links to our LinkedIn profiles as well.